The feeling of being on the open road is truly a North American sensation. And here in Canada, we have a lot of long open roads. And so the idea of even driving across Canada, it gives you this sense of time and place. And that wonderful feeling of having the windows down, having the radio blaring, that independence really gives you a sense of being alive. One of the things we like to talk about in terms of the Oshawa story is that Oshawa really built those cars that many of us remember from high school. It built the minivans, it built the family station wagons, it built the cars that took everyone to hockey practice, to church on Sunday. It didn't build fancy sports cars, it didn't build exotic things you only see at the Oscars. It built cars that people used and used up and disposed of, and people used them for their real lives.
There's a lot of people that came in from all over, from Lindsay, from Halliburton, from Peterborough. People traveled from all over to go to GM to work there.
Bad news for workers at the GM plant here in Oshawa. 1,200 people were laid off yesterday. Hundreds more were told not to show up today.
Take care of the basics and make sure that you put food on the table for your family, and your family's number one.
It's 7:30, we shut, about everything pretty much shut down, and then about 12 o'clock is when everything came back up.
We would understand, we wouldn't like it, but we would understand if they were losing money, if the quality was poor, if there was a justified reason. Today there is no justified reason other than corporate greed.
Urging Canadians and American consumers not to buy GM vehicles.
It's an emotional day. I'm already a lot of friends that we won't see again. Family, I've worked with these people for 17 years, so
I'm excited to be done and get away. I'm 26, might as well start my life now.
I got a son that works here too, and he's leaving. So this has been my life. I've been here since a teenager.
The last shift has ended. All of the time cards have been punched. The final truck here at the GM plant in Oshawa has rolled off the assembly line, marking the end of an era.
There was just a weird feeling to the plant of knowing this is the last time I'll see 2,000 people around me. And some people were saddened by that, and a lot of people were happy by that. People had that feeling of escape in a way. GM was fantastic to a lot of people, but some people felt drained by it. And knowing that there was no option but to leave was a bit of a gift to some people. So
I was employed at General Motors for 34.8 years. It was a good paying job with benefits. And that's why we'll always buy General Motors vehicles, because they always, they've always paid well and they've looked after us.
Martin used to come home from stamping. There was many a times when the boys were younger, right? He would come in the door and I'd have the music going in the house and I'd have the TV going, and we had two young boys that were very active and busy. And Martin liked things quiet. And I always wondered, why does he like things so quiet? So whenever we went to his retirement party, 35 years later, we figure out why. Because he worked this massive press that was the size of this house, and it was so loud.
That's right, yeah.
Banging.
And it was constant. It was constant, just bang, bang, bang. It was it was constant.
And watching my father-in-law, and then Martin, and then Matthew having 6 months there, it was really amazing to see the differences as I heard the stories over the years being married. But my father-in-law would have some funny stories, and then Martin had funny stories. But by the time Matthew was there, it was a very different place.
I was excited because I was going to make a lot more money than I was making in Halliburton. I was working in a window place, making windows for $1.10 an hour, $2.65 an hour when I started at GM. Yeah, that was big money then. At that time, I don't think there was any robots. No, there was all manpower. And everybody loved their job, especially on this big job, because you had a certain amount to do. Then you waited for the next vehicle to come before you had to start to work again.
When I was laid off from General Motors, it wasn't that bad. We noticed the difference when it was on We were on strike there for a few times for a couple of weeks, so you'd notice the lack of money.
We said we did a lot of activities as a family that didn't cost money.
One of the things that's a misconception about the history of the industry is that it was really steady over the years, and really the manufacturing history here in Oshawa shows that there's ups and downs, there's seasonal layoffs, there are really cycles that the industry went through, boom and bust periods.
There was a need to have some level of education that helped people retrain for the jobs that are emerging. And our economy is always emerging, right? I mean, you look at how manufacturing has changed in 50 years. It's robotics, it's artificial intelligence, it's electronics, it's not as manual as it was once. So therefore you need a different skill set, different knowledge, different skills, and different education.
First and foremost, I have to say that Don Levisa, Unifor, and General Motors worked collectively together along with the provincial government about identifying what this global announcement meant, which was a massive shock wave to people that worked in the automobile industry. So my conversations with Don were, Don had reached out immediately and said, we believe at Durham College we can play a significant role. We believe we can help people be educated up, which means filling the gaps when it comes to their education. But he also believed that the skills and abilities could be identified of what they do now, and then looked at where the jobs existed or are existing, and what kind of training could Durham College provide. And so they needed to work not only with General Motors, but they needed to work with Unifor. And Don Levisa was the first one at the table that said, we can play an important role in helping people be equipped different to be able to move into the next stage of their employment.
We've set up a portal in partnership with General Motors, and we also work with companies. We've had about 56 companies contact us and say, if you train these people or help them get job ready, we'll hire them. So we've posted over 1,000 jobs on this portal. And GM employees can go into the portal and they can talk to an advisor and then look at the skills they have, the education they have, look at where the gaps are and help them build a plan how to get the qualifications and experience they need to apply for that next job. So that's how we're working with GM. We're helping to transition the community to a different type of employment. And this is what college has been doing for 50 years.
I think, one of the positive aspects of sort of GM doing what it's had is that it's cut us loose from the history to a great extent, so that we can still celebrate it, we can still honor it, but it doesn't really have to be the determinant or the thing that's going to predict our future going forward. When you do an economic development strategy, you generally want to give it sort of 5 years to mature and to do that, because you'll identify kind of a number of specific sort of activities or actions that you want to pursue. Well, you can't do them all in year one, so you have 5 years to sort of spread this out. The plan we had 5 years ago in terms of the economic sectors that we were looking at and stuff, sectors are still relevant there, but the issues in each one of them has changed significantly during that period of time, and you get sort of different global trends that are affecting them, creating sort of some real issues in terms of things they have to address, or that putting some pressure on them, but also creating a brand new sort of suite of opportunities there too.
We need to understand that the world is changing. And, in the course of the automobile over the 100 years, you've seen lots of change. But really in the last 47 years, 47 years ago, there was no iPhones. There was no digital cameras. There was no laptop computers. If you wanted to send a document someplace, you mailed it or you couriered it. You didn't send it in a PDF because you just couldn't do that. That the world changes and evolves, and that change can be good if you are really willing to grasp it. But what's really exciting is how change is happening in schools today, and how young people are being given the skill set to make change happen in weeks, not years. And that's what makes Durham an incredible place to live, work, play, and learn.